All right, welcome back, and thank you for watching the series on writing a research paper. This is part 2 of drafting your paper. We have gone from the beginning of taking an annotated bibliography to then planning and outlining a paper, and our last video was the first part of how to begin drafting your paper, which means we took our outline here on technology in the classroom, and we added enough to it that we are now going to slowly turn this into our paper. We're going to be slowly drafting it as we go. And so I want to point out a few things to you. First, again, the color coding is helping me stay organized. And also I want you to notice that I didn't start with my introduction. In fact, I did that very quickly and I moved on. And this will probably be the last thing that I write. And that's okay. Maybe the second to last, maybe my conclusion will be last. But I'm not going to start there because that is kind of a daunting task to start a research paper from the beginning to end and just go in order. In fact, it's much faster and more efficient to just start with one of your points that you feel ready to write about. And you'll notice I didn't even start with my first point, which was best practices. I went ahead and jumped into the one that I felt like I had read the most on, and I was ready to write about. So that was point 2, which was most effective tools. So I've been writing about that, and I already added one piece of evidence and one commentary, and I'm going to just continue that process here. And instead of jumping around, I'm actually going to stick with this point number 2, and I'm going to follow it through all the way so that you can see the process of taking one section completely from outline into drafted nice paragraphs. And so I'm going to stick with this and finish it up so that you can hopefully take that idea of starting with your outline and drafting it out into a section of your paper. And then I will consider later how to go back and maybe decide what that heading should be. What is this section going to be called? Maybe it'll just be called Tools for Technology in the Classroom, something like that. I'll decide that later, right? So I've already got one piece of evidence here. I've got a little bit of commentary, and I'm basically just going to do that again. I'm going to add more evidence and more commentary. So I've picked another article here that I think is related to my topic, and it's called an exploratory study on K-12 teachers, use of technology and multimedia in the classroom. So if I decide to use this paper, you remember my strategy of highlighting. I decided that this sounds very similar to this other one where I'm talking about tools to be used by teachers in the classroom. And so I highlighted with yellow to indicate that it's going to go in this yellow section of my paper. And I found a couple things that I wanted to include. So in the beginning of this section here, it says the term multimedia defines applications that include text, images, audio, and video. So this first piece of evidence I used from another article talked about devices. But now I'm kind of talking about multimedia and things like software or use of technology as a tool. And so I feel like that's its own thing. I'm going to make another section here, another piece of evidence. Okay, and so if I keep reading, there's a really nice section here that I chose to use. It says, with teachers using technology in the classroom, there is a room to integrate multimedia into lessons. There are several benefits to integrating multimedia into lessons. Some of the benefits include ease of use, immersive experience, ability to reach a wide audience, update content easily, self-pace. Lindstrom found that people remember 20% of what they see, 40% of what they see and hear, but about 75% of what they see and hear and do simultaneously. This emphasizes the need for the end use of multimedia in the classroom. Now, I went ahead and chose this section, and you could keep going, obviously, but I went ahead and chose this because this is a perfect example of what you are doing in your paper. When you write a research paper, you have this sort of sandwich method going, okay? So I say sandwich because we kind of want to sandwich our research with commentary. So the first couple of sentences here are introducing the idea, and I just started here with this one. There are several benefits to integrating multimedia into lessons. That's the introduction, the topic sentence here. Then the authors get right into their research and they cite people who are the experts that gave them this idea, right? They talked about that. And then they finished it off with the other piece of the sandwich, which is that emphasizes the need and use for multimedia in the classroom. So think of your paragraphs and sections as a sandwich. You have bread, meat, and bread. And the first bread is just your topic sentence. That's often the easiest part to write. You can do that after you've figured out what your evidence is. The meat is your evidence. Who are you going to cite? Who are your experts? What are they saying? You can quote them or paraphrase them. Then you have another piece of bread, and maybe this has got a little mustard and mayo on it because it's your commentary, it's your idea, why you think this matters, okay? So actually two authors, these authors already did this very nicely here in this paragraph. So we're going to kind of emulate that process in our own paper, but I want to use their work. So here's the weird question we often get faced with when writing research. I like this article by Martin and Carr, okay? But Martin and Carr did their research, and they're citing Martin, Hoskins, Brooks, and Bennett. They're citing Lindstrom. So who am I really citing here? This is tricky, right? So I'm actually still citing Martin and Carr, but I want to give some kind of credit to these people because it wouldn't be fair for me to act like Martin and Carr did this work when clearly they're trying to give credit to these guys. And so there are all kinds of tricks with APA that'll allow you to do that if you're using APA. But in actual writing of it, I still like to give credit to both parties. And so we'll talk about how to do that. So let's say I want this whole section. Now it's pretty long, so I might end up paraphrasing it. Okay, but I'm going to copy and paste it here as part of my evidence. Let's see how it turns out. Oh, again, it turned out kind of funny, but I'm going to fix that. That's okay. And once again, I'm going to quote it because I took it directly from this article. So this is 2015. And do we have a page number? Page number 8. And it's Martin and Carr. So I'm going to go ahead and put them here so I don't forget. No. Okay, what year was it? I forgot. Let's see. I want to put 2015. Almost got it wrong. 2015, page 8. Okay. Now, I can go back and check all these details to make sure I'm putting commas and things like that in the right place, but that's in the editing stage. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just putting the citation so I don't forget because it's very easy to go ahead and cite something and keep writing because you get on a roll and then you forgot where it came from, and that's not something I want to end up happening in my paper. So I've got this nice quote here. I'm going to make my commentary on it. So what does this mean to me? What do I think about this? I think multimedia has many benefits. It looks like we can reach more students, or we can more fully engage students. And again, this is my initial writing. It might get better. I hope it gets better. That's not the greatest set of sentences, but it gets my idea down. I'll go back as I go, and I'm going to revise it and make it a little better. But for now, I'm just getting my ideas down into this, so it's like a rough draft, okay? Now, I notice this is not size 12, so I'm going to go ahead and change that so it all matches. Okay, so now I've got a couple sets of evidence, and I've got my commentary. And so I think I'm ready to turn this into a paragraph, okay? Now I'm going to leave it yellow because I think it's going to help me stay organized. And eventually I'll probably go back, and as I start working on these, I'll turn them into blue so I keep focused on what I'm writing and where. And this is going to become its own section here, most effective tools. And so, in fact, I might just go ahead and get rid of the bullet and just put it there now, and maybe that'll become my heading. Okay, so I don't need this. I'm going to actually do that sandwich thing, and I'm going to write my own bread, and then I got my meat, and then I'm going to have more bread, right? Okay, so now this is the process you might go through of just kind of, now that I've got everything I need, I'm going to just turn it into a paragraph. I'm going to get rid of this outline. I don't need it anymore. I've got everything I want, and now I just need it to flow like a paragraph, okay? So I've got my evidence and my commentary, evidence and commentary. This is like a triple-decker sandwich, and that's okay if I keep it as one paragraph. Maybe as I go, I'll decide it's going to be 2 paragraphs. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to just start off and introduce this topic here, okay? So it says mobile wireless devices perform similar tasks to desktop computers. Okay, so we're talking about devices here. So I'm going to introduce this topic. There are many types of devices used by teachers to enhance learning. I want to be careful to try and use some of the wording that I think is going to be present in my thesis, right? I put research shows technology improves learning if teachers are dedicated to using tools carefully. So I've got learning, I've got teachers, I've got tools. I want to keep using the same kind of language if I can, because then that will help me reinforce my thesis and keep it flowing so it sounds like it's all the same paper. I might add to that, actually, now that I think about it. There are many types of devices used as learning tools. Maybe that sounds better. By teachers to enhance learning. Now we don't want learning twice. To enhance instruction. There we go. I kind of like that sentence now, but it might not be perfect yet. That's okay. It doesn't matter. So I might introduce this piece of evidence here, this meat in my sandwich. Mobile wireless devices perform similar tasks to desktop computers. So this is talking about people using things like cell phones and iPods and tablets. So we can say things like, some educators are using tools such as cell phones, iPads, or maybe I'll just say cell phones and tablets, to replace other technology. Okay, now I've got my evidence leading into that. Okay, now as I'm trying to devise how this is going to sound and how to put it all together, there's an additional tool that you might want to use, and it's called They Say, I Say. It's a textbook that many of you might have gotten in one of your English classes. It is available online. I found a PDF of it, and so they have these nice sort of templates of phrases to use, and so I like to go here and just kind of take these phrases and put them in my paper when I get stuck, right? Right here, for example, the first one, a number of blank have recently suggested that blank. Oh, that's a nice way to put something. So if I get stuck, I can put something like that, right? I could put a number of researchers have recently suggested that teachers be trained to use whatever, right? So I might use a phrase like that. And that's a good tool to use. I can come back here and I can just kind of scroll through, and it gives it sections, introducing, introducing something implied or assumed. I think I'm going to use that next because, in fact, I have a section where I'm probably going to paraphrase, right? So I might use something like this. One implication of X's treatment of blank. I don't like treatment, but I could change that word. It's just a template, okay? So I can come to this, and I just want to show you that tool because it's a really helpful one. In the end, there's these nice little short ones too. Acknowledges that, agrees that, believes that, denies, complains, demonstrates. So I might say something like, Martin's study demonstrates that. Martin believes that. I could paraphrase this person by putting they believe, they argue. All those kinds of things are relevant here. Okay, so back to my paragraph that I'm trying to form. I've got my introduction, my little topic sentence here. There are many types of devices used as learning tools by teachers to enhance instruction. Some educators are using tools such as cell phones and tablets to replace other technology. Quote, mobile wireless devices perform similar tasks to desktop computers, such as providing access to internet, storing information, sending email, and playing videos. This is important because it allows more access for more children. So I'm going to go ahead and back that up and put it right there in that paragraph. That's not too bad of a paragraph. I might add more to it later, but that's a good start. I feel pretty good about that. Now I've got another one here. So I need to introduce this one. This one talks about, says there are several benefits to integrating multimedia. So I might say in addition to, maybe my phrases here would give me an idea if I was stuck, but I would say something like, in addition to devices, there are also many multimedia options, right? Okay, so I got my topic sentence here. In addition to many options for devices that can be used in the classroom, there are also many options for multimedia. I've introduced it. Now I got my long quote here. Now I could keep that, or maybe I feel like this is a bit too much. I don't want to quote something that long, right? So maybe I want to paraphrase. So if I'm going to paraphrase, I need a way to introduce it. Let's take one of these. I might look at introducing quotations. No, I'm not going to quote, I'm going to paraphrase. So let's say I want introducing quotations. No. Explaining quotations. Disagreeing with reasons, agreeing with a difference, agreeing with disagreeing, and disagreeing simultaneously. Signaling who is saying what. Okay, so there's according to, there's indeed. That's an interesting way to start. This is interesting. I could use a piece of a quote. X's assertion that blank. That's kind of nice. Entertaining objections. I'm not really objecting to anything. I don't have naysayers. Introducing objections informally. That might come in my pink section, actually. The cautions, people who are kind of against the idea of technology. I'll definitely come back to this later. Indicating who cares. Okay. I like these sentences. These findings challenge the work of earlier researchers who tend, it sounds like we're going against it though. Okay, findings challenge, and I can always change the word challenge if I think it's not appropriate. Establishing why your claims matter. Let's go with that. X matters, blank is important because, although X may seem trivial, in fact, crucial in terms of today's concern over blank. Okay. I like the sound of that, so I might use that, okay? Although tools such as PowerPoint and presentations may seem trivial, I'm taking it right from here. It is in fact crucial in terms of today's concern over. In fact, crucial in terms of concern over the digital divide. This article talked a lot about that, so I like to use that word, digital divide. They discussed it in here, so I'm going to bring that back in, and I'm going to summarize this now, right? So I've got this long quote, okay? It says, there are several benefits to integrating multimedia into lessons. Some of the benefits include ease of use, I like that. Immersive experience, okay, I like that. And ability to reach a wide audience, I like that. Maybe I'll quote just these words. Maybe I'll just do that. That sounds good. And just summarize it, okay? So, according to Martin and Carr's study, and that was in 2015, using such multimedia can increase ease of use, immersive experience, and reach a wider audience in the classroom. Okay, kind of butchered that one there. Let's see, spelling. What did I do? What is that word? Immersive, there we go, immersive. Okay, now I didn't quote it directly. I used some of the phrases, but since I kind of stole some of it, I'm going to give the actual page number, even though it's not a direct quote, which is a wise idea, right? I'm going to put Martin and Carr, 2015, page, what page was that? Did I say? I think I did. 8. Now, we have to go back and think about one other thing here, and that's that Martin and Carr were talking about what other people found, right? They talked about Martin, Hoskins, Brooks, and Bennett. They were talking about Lindstrom. So I might say, instead of saying here, according to their study, I could say that Martin and Carr cite other researchers and then add this. I think that's a little fairer option than what I did. Okay, so I'm going to actually go back and make that quick change. Martin and Carr cite multiple researchers when they argue that using such multimedia can increase ease of use, immersive experience, reach a wider audience in the classroom. Great, so now after researchers, cite multiple researchers, who, I might want to just throw them in there, okay, just to be fair. And then the other one was Lindstrom. That way I know I didn't leave anybody out. I'm not stealing anybody's work, okay? So now I've already summarized this, so I can get rid of it, okay? I've got my commentary here. I'm going to add it to the end. And now I've got a pretty nice paragraph. Okay, so I've got 2 pretty good paragraphs here. Now I can add more detail to them if I decide to, but I've got a good start on my section. And if I had another set of evidence and commentary, I would do the exact same thing. This is the drafting stage. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need all my stuff in there with the evidence and it organized in such a way that I can build off of it. So now you've seen that I've taken what was a simple outline, I added evidence to it, I went ahead and started adding my own commentary, and then eventually turned it right into my own section, and now my outline is truly becoming an essay. All right, I hope this was very helpful. I encourage you to use some of these tools and try them out. I like using Google Drive for this because all these changes are just automatically saved, and I highly encourage you to go check out They Say, I Say as a source for just some writing templates to get you going if you get stuck. Thanks, good luck, and keep up the writing and the good work. And I'll see you in the next video. We'll be talking about revising in our next one.